Hello everyone. Thank you very much to Dolphin Fest for inviting us. I'm Josh and I'm part of a group called the Ullapool Sea Sailors. The Ullapool Sea Sailors is a kids campaign group working to protect the marine environment and all the animals who live in it. We were set up in summer 2018 by kids, for kids, for our marine environment. So here's how it works. People protect what they love, and we love the sea. We love our local marine protected area especially, and we need everyone to love the sea. We were inspired by the Living Seas project, and we are very lucky to have Noel Hawkins along with us to tell you about it.
Well, look, do you need a microphone? I'm not known for being quiet. Can you hear me? So I'm Noel Hawkins, I'm from the Scottish Wildlife Trust. I work with a project called the Living Seas. We're into our 4th year now. And we were set up to try and work in what this represents. This is over on the west coast. We've got the Summer Islands, beautiful environment, and it got made into a marine protected area. There was issues when it got set up because it's competing with industry, but we're trying to do conservation and protect work in the community. So Living Seas isn't just conservation and protection, it's about keeping the communities and allowing people still live there too. It's a very fine balance. Part of that balance, these guys are going to show you the ecosystem of the marine environment itself. It's very intricate, very complicated. We could talk about it for hours. They'll give you an overview, and then we'll try and show you some of the considerations on what we have to think about when trying to keep people working there and things. Ullapool's been really good. It's very active. Our primary school up there was visited by a Glasgow school called Sunnyside. They actually made Ullapool the first plastic straw-free village in Europe, which was a really good achievement. These kids are active. There's a couple of kids up here, Finley and Ella. They were actually the first kids to do a climate change strike, not just in Scotland, but in the UK. And with another girl in the village called Megan. She's running a campaign at the moment called Don't Be a Pain in the Butt, trying to stop cigarette butts going into the sea, which is actually a bigger problem than straws, so that's another one we're working on. So that's an outline of what we're doing. We did set up to try and convince adults and people to join us. As you'll see from here, the kids in the village are actually the ones that have jumped on it, and they're leading the way. Leading their adults, and it's also meant that I'm getting downgraded all the time, so I'm almost an assistant today. So I'll let you do it.
Each of us kids has a species we champion. I am the Dolphin Ambassador.
Hi, I'm Megan, I'm the Aquaculture Agriculture. I'm Dolphin Ambassador. I'm Arwen, and I'm the Sea Turtle Ambassador.
I'm Maya, and I'm the White-tailed Sea Ambassador.
I'm Kayla, and I'm the Playground Ambassador.
But we all support each other and all the other creatures too.
Sharks, lobsters, seagulls, crabs, gallants, seagrass, otters, mackerel, whales, salmon, basset crabs, herring, snakes, white-tailed seagulls, porpoise, merle, seals.
But people are important too. Like Noel said, people need to make a living. There has to be balance. Now Megan's going to talk to you about aquaculture.
Aquaculture, or fish farms, can be really good for the community because they provide employment and they support other businesses like restaurants with affordable fish. They also take pressure off fishing for wild fish. However, if there's too many, they can cause problems like rubbish from the fish farms washing up onto beaches, and it takes up fishing grounds and can come into conflict with seal colonies. The chemicals used can sometimes leak into the sea, and there's quite a lot of pressure on cleaner fish, such as wrasse, which are used to clean the salmon. The sea lice from the farms can also infect wild fish stocks. They also cause quite a lot of noise pollution. However, there are some solutions, such as carefully chosen sites and closed systems, and if the chemicals have controlled and monitored use. And they could help beach clean teams by providing boats and removal equipment to help combat the litter.
Thank you, Megan. Now Caitlin's going to talk to you about creel boats.
Hi. So I'm going to talk to you about creel boats. So there's some positives and negatives about creel boats. I'll start with positives. So the first one is employment, and especially locally. And the second is sustainable, delicious food. For instance, the seafood shack, which we have in Liverpool. And also it can support lots of other businesses, such as exports, distribution, processing, and also restaurants. So there are some negatives too. The first one is entanglement. As you may have heard, there was a whale that washed up recently in Dunbar from that. Also, it can come in competition with nature for food and habitats.
Thank you, Caitlin. Now Poppy's going to talk about trawlers.
Trawlers. The most important thing about trawlers is that they have to trawl in the right place. There are some positives and negatives. The negatives are there can either be too many trawls or they can be trawling in the wrong place, which can then lead to damage to the seabed and can create issues like ghost nests. There are some positives, which creates employment and supports other businesses like distribution, processing, exports and restaurants. Some even participate in the fishing for litter scheme.
Thank you, Poppy. Now Arvin's going to talk about cruise ships. Cruise ships. There are some positives and negatives for cruise ships. I'll start with the positives. It generates employment and it brings money into small communities like Liverpool. Now for the negatives. There can be too many cruise ships in one harbour at the same time, and that causes a lot of air pollution, litter, sewage, and a lot of stress for the animals. Thank you, Arvin. Now Maya is going to talk about whale watching.
Whale watching. There are some positives and some negatives, but I'll start with the positives. Positives are it can bring employment, it can give people chances for jobs and money. It can also teach people to love wildlife, which is very important. It can also teach people to protect what they love, which is also quite important. Now for the negatives, it can also stress out the animals, but there is a solution. You can go with someone who's taken the wise course or take the wise course yourself. The wise course is something which teaches people to act responsibly around wildlife and sea life.
Thank you, Maya. When the balance is right, it can work for everyone, which is good news for dolphins. In the huge diversity of our marine environment, to me, dolphins are the most amazing creatures of all. They are beautiful and elegant animals, but are also very intelligent and like to work in groups. There are 5 different species of dolphin that are known to live in Scotland. Bottlenose, whitebeak, Risso's dolphins and orcas can be seen all year round in Scotland, whereas common dolphins can only be seen in the summer months. Dolphins live in pods, and some common dolphin pods can reach up to 1,000 dolphins strong, which is called a superpod. Some dolphin pods send out scouts to look for fish, and then the scouts report back what they have found. I was once out on a boat with my family, and we were having a barbecue when my dad saw something moving in the water, so we went to check it out, and we saw that it was a pod of common dolphin, and we had a lovely time with them jumping around us. But dolphins are under threat by human activities. Entanglement is possibly one of the biggest problems, because dolphins can get entangled in nets and won't be able to breathe and come up to the surface. Noise pollution. Noise pollution is where noises from boats and marine traffic cause dolphins to go off course, and sometimes they can beach themselves. Collisions are tied into noise pollution because the dolphins can be led to the boat and can accidentally collide and cause themselves damage. Overfishing isn't such a big problem, but if we lose all the fish in our communities, then the dolphins won't be able to live there anymore. But overall, we are doing quite well to protect our wonderful dolphins. One of our biggest campaigns was about kelp dredging. It was an amazing success, but very complicated, and lots of groups were involved. So back to Noel to tell that story.
It was very big on the West Coast. I don't know if you heard about it so much over here. It did become a national campaign. But they were actually looking to go for kelp to use it commercially. Kelp, if you're not familiar with it, it's one of the really important key species in our ecosystem. It's at the bottom. It provides food, it provides habitat for small fish, coastal grounds and things. And what was being proposed is they said they were going to come in and comb it. The comb they were talking about using was a 3.5-ton metal dredge, which would just, according to them, gently comb out our kelp, and it would just grow back in a few years' time. And where would everything have gone in a few years? So we had a campaign which was led by someone called Elsa McLennan. She came in with a lot of science. We came in from Living Seas, sort of saying like, this isn't good for what we're trying to promote as a healthy living seas. And these guys were really important. They even went down to Hollywood to help campaign on legislation. At the moment, there's been a prohibition put on it. It's not finished. There's a consultation going through at the moment. There's serious amounts of money involved here. That's always the issue. So it's likely it's going to raise its head again. So if it does, we're asking, even though it's over on the West Coast, if you'll help us to send a message, which is,
Hey dredgers, leave our kelp alone!
and it's not just that, just in general, these guys and all the other kids, Thomas, Pringle kids, Megan, there's kids all over the UK, all over the world now, are sending out a message, and that message should be,
Please help us save our seas!
over to you.
Thank you very much for listening, and please come to our stand to ask questions and meet the sea savers.